Hello again, everybody. My name is Barbara. I am the admission coordinator at the Faculty of Economics and Administration at Masaryk University, and I will guide you together with two of our students through today's session. The agenda today is that my computer does not want to work. Is the welcome, which I already did. I will speak a little bit about Masaryk University and the Faculty of Economics, and then I will hand it over to Zeshan, who will talk more about the faculty from a student perspective and who will also introduce the Business Management and Finance program, which is one of our two bachelor's degree programs. Zeshan is one of our students. She's from Turkey. So if you have any questions also about, student life from an international student perspective, feel free to ask either at the end or in the Q&A section. Then you will hear from Enoch, who is our student of the Economics and Public Policy program. He is from Ghana. Who is not listed here in the agenda is Kaya, who is our student as well. She is from the Czech Republic, and she will also be happy to answer any questions you might have. After Enoch, Zeshan will talk a little bit also about studying at our faculty, about the life in Brno, what she likes most. As an international student, of course. She's been here for, I think, 2 years almost now. And then I will take over again and talk about the practical information, admission process, the application requirements. And then we will have the Q&A session. So if you have any questions throughout the event, feel free to type them in the Q&A section of the chat. Well, not the chat, the Q&A. So Masaryk University, and I will be very brief, but because some of you might not be familiar with us, was founded in 1919. We are one of the oldest universities in the Czech Republic. We have a very strong academic and research reputation in Central Europe. We're a pretty big university. We have about 33,000 students total. We're the second largest university in the Czech Republic. We have 10 faculties. For some people, that might be schools. So you can, even if you study at the Faculty of Economics and Administration, there's always an opportunity to learn something from a different field. We have Faculty of Science, Faculty of Arts, Social Studies, Medicine as well, etc. But you're here today because you're interested in the programs of the Faculty of Economics and Administration. So I will talk a little bit about the Faculty of Economics and Administration. We are one of the youngest faculties of the university. We were founded in 1991. We're actually the first faculty founded after the Velvet Revolution in the Czech Republic. We have about 3,000 students. I think right now it's about 3,200, of which 300 plus are internationals. We have students from literally all over the world. Zay and Enoch are just an example of how diverse our student population is. We have 16 programs. 16 partner companies of the faculty. There's some local partners like the South Moravian region, but we also have many international partner companies like FNZ, EY, KPMG. This is important, and it's often asked by students or applicants because we have people from these companies to come to our classes as well and talk to the students. So it's not just theory, but like real life experiences as well. We have 5 programs taught completely in English, 2 bachelor's degree programs, which is why you're here, and 3 programs for the master's degree, and 1 program that is taught in English and French. And 90% of our graduates report that they find a job in their field very shortly after graduation. Our partner companies are well, these are most of them, not all of them, but as you can see, it's all of the big companies you can think of, which makes it easier, I think, for students then to find jobs. KPMG, Deloitte, Zebra, they all have big offices here in Brno. The study programs that we offer, as you probably know, are 2 bachelor's degree programs, business management and finance, that they will talk about a little bit later, and economics and public policy that Enoch will talk about. I included the master's degree programs as well, just in case you were wondering, you know, so if I come to your faculty for my bachelor's degree, what can I do then? So what you can do then is you can choose from one of our other master's degree programs. We have applied health economics, which is a new program, very popular right now, business management, finance, and the program that is taught English and French is the public administration program. It's a double degree program taught together with the University of Rennes in France. And now why should you choose Econ Muni, which is what we call our faculty? That's a question for Zay, so I will hand it over to her.
So I'm going to be talking about a little bit about Econ Muni and also the program Business Management and Finance. First of all, who am I? Well, I am, as Barbara also mentioned, I am Zeyshan. I come from Turkey, and I am the student ambassador of economics faculty. Right now, I'm on my 4th semester. I've been in Brno for 2 years, and a little random facts about me is that I actually work with one of our partner companies, Zebra, as customer support, and I am also a study in Czechia ambassador, which focuses on a lot of universities in Czechia. So why did I chose Econ Muni? Well, there's a lot of reasons for this, but some of them are on the screen. One of my biggest reasons were that it's a very safe and student-friendly city. It is located in a very safe and student-friendly city. Also, if it is really affordable compared to Western Europe. And there is a big international environment. As Barbara also mentioned before, there is people from all over the world. I met so many new people here from almost every country ever, which is so important when you're going to study internationally. And also the reputation of strong academic teachings in Central Europe was really important for me. A little bit more about our faculty is like if we want to talk about what is in the faculty, what can you expect coming here. We have really modern classrooms and study spaces, which is really nice because you are not in a space like in high school. You really feel that the university air here. And also we have a bunch of study spaces like a library and a bunch of sitting areas where it is you can socialize or you can study. In the faculty, we also have a cafeteria, and also one of the university cafeterias is also very close, where in the faculty you can get some pasta or sandwich, while in the big cafeteria you can get a soup or a good meal. And also our professors are really approachable. When I first came here, I was really anxious about starting a new university. I came here when I was 17 years old, so it was quite scary. But our professors made everything so smooth with the way that they were so helpful, and they were always just there for you, which is really important when you're choosing a university, because starting a new university can be scary, and it is scary. But knowing that you have that support from the people in the university you're studying is super important. And in our faculty and in our university, it is really easy, which is, like I said, it's really important. And also we do have a very strong academic structure with very good teachers and everything you might need. So when it comes to the program itself, what we actually study and how classes actually work, what you should expect from the department, the program of business management and finance. So what we actually study is not just finance, but also management, like human resources or organizational behaviors, and finance, like corporate finance or accounting. And one of the things that interested me the most was data and statistics, where we have classes like statistics, econometrics, which you can learn a little bit of programming, a little bit of data reading, a little bit of everything, which is super helpful. And it is really nice if you want to continue from maybe the statistics parts. You can also do that, and you're having a really good view in what are these things. Also, we have the marketing fundamentals and economic thinking classes, and it is good to mention that we do have some classes that you have to take, but also we have bunch of classes which is selective, which you can select yourself. So if you have something that you're interested in the faculty, or sometimes even outside of the faculty, you can also choose these. There is bunch of beautiful program with classes and courses when it comes to the business management and finance program. Like a quick example would be I had a class where we talk about our own finances, and we were planning our own finances, which was really interesting because we were learning about our own finances every week. And how our classes actually work is between a combination of lectures and seminars. In the lectures, the professors tells you about the topic and you're learning about the topic. But I think the most part that we are focusing on is the seminars, which is a smaller group of people, and you are really in contact with the teacher. You're talking, you're presenting, you're asking. And why this is so important is because you're not just learning a textbook, because that would be really boring. But instead of just learning a textbook, you're actually putting that into real life examples, and you're having case studies which you have to manage a company from. Okay, maybe it's on the paper and you present it, and you actually learn how to manage. You actually know how to do accounting. You actually learn how to do human resources in these seminars, and you're not just reading a textbook, which is, like I said, I think the most important thing in my opinion. And also we have continuous assignments like quizzes and some other assignments. And these quizzes are mostly doing on in our information system, IS, and you can take these quizzes online. And we have a beautiful information system which you can be used for a lot of things, and it is makes the studying process super easily. And also one thing that my program, which is again business management and finance, focuses on is the group presentations. For our almost every class, we have group presentations, which to be honest, it's so fun for me because you get to meet new people, you get to socialize with a lot of more people. And when you're actually doing a presentation about a real life topic, you're learning about everything that you will really use in a real life, and you actually have a job. And like I said, it's overall super fun to just meet with these new people and prepare these presentations and maybe make lifelong friends. And of course, we also have final exams. And so this is about it from my end. And now my colleague Enoch will talk about his program. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Enoch from Ghana, and I want to talk to you about economics and public policy. My colleague Zig spoke a lot about her program, and she basically gave you a breakdown of the entire faculty. So if you think of economics and public policy, I know the first thing you think about is government affairs, but Masaryk is going to give you a shock because in our first 2 years, we basically spend most of our time in the same classroom. So I spent most of my first 2 years with Zane, and we spent a lot of courses together. We did finance, we did basically all the necessary courses, which is going to equip you in a broader field in the corporate world. So economics and public policy, it's a unique course because these are two major fields that are putting together, because economics is a solid field on its own and public policy is another huge field on its own. So this program gives you like the access to two different two different industries at the same time, because at the end of your studies, you can choose to go to the economics field, or you can choose to fully involve yourself in the public sector field. So this program is an excellent program, and one of the reasons why I chose this field is I really wanted to build my analytical skills. So, and once I took this program, it gave me that field to be able to do that, because currently we study statistics, and I have access to econometrics using updated and modern days softwares which are required in the corporate world, and very key thing for us. So Masaryk University is a very updated university. Most of our courses are up to date. So once you study with us, you get access to know about the actual required things, and not just theories and methods. You're actually going to feel the corporate world. And in fact, one of these days, I was speaking to one of the former guys in my program, and who is currently working for a company. And he was like, once he got into the corporate world, it felt no difference from our faculty, because our faculty just felt like the corporate world. And I was like, yeah, that's the actual truth. So these are one of the key things. And for you to be able to make a decision, sometimes it might be difficult to balance between finance, to balance between economics, but you have to look through what you actually want. What's your passion? Do you love the public sector? Is there where you want to go to? And also, is academia your field? Do you want to dive into more research field, become a professor someday, become something else? I would say this program is good for you. And also, it's not going to tie you basically to the public sector. It's also going to put you in a different space. You could work with monetary affairs. You could work as a financial analyst. So this program is a very huge and broad program. And as I said, in your first 2 years, Masaryk is going to break down and give you all the general basis in finance, basis in economics, basis in business management, basis in completely everything. So you are not going to feel lag behind, or you're not going to feel like you are choosing a particular sector. Thank you.
Thank you, Enoch. I will share my presentation again, but yeah, what Enoch said is really important, because sometimes we are asked whether people apply and need to have some economics background, and the answer is no, because you're applying for a bachelor's degree program. And once you come here, you basically learn the foundations. So whether it's business management and finance, or economics, or public policy, they're all economics related fields. And so you need to learn the same basics. Just going to hand it over to Zay again. Thank you, Zay.
Another question a lot of students have, can I work while studying? And yes, as I mentioned before, I'm also working and I'm studying at the same time right now. Well, Brno, which is where our university is located, has many, many international companies, which most of them are our partners. So coming from Masaryk University, it is fairly easy to get a part-time job while studying. As I mentioned before, I'm working, sorry, in one of these partner companies. And also there is internships available in bunch of more companies, and English is widely used, so you don't need to worry about not knowing the Czech language while coming here, because there is a bunch of international companies and international people and everything here, so you don't have to worry about the language. And also we did mention the international environment before, but I just want to dive a little bit more about, for instance, the programs we have or the clubs. So, of course, as we mentioned, we have a lot of international students, basically from all over the world, and there is also a lot of people coming from Erasmus exchange programs. But also, one thing that is really interesting for me is you can also go do an Erasmus program. Even if you're an international student here and you're not from your home country, you can still go to another country and do your Erasmus if you want to, which is really interesting and fun thing in my opinion. And also we do have a bunch of student clubs and then events. As I mentioned before, we do have an information system, and in this system there is a lot of people just posting their events or just club events or anything that they are doing, and you can just go to the information system and check if anybody posted something that you're interested in and just contact them and join. And also, of course, we have the Erasmus Student Network in Czech Republic, which makes a lot of international events, and it is really, really fun. Like for instance, next week there is a international ball coming up where we will all dress up in big, good, cute dresses and dance some classy things. So it is really, really fun, and you can find a lot of cultural diversity. And a little bit more about why Czechia. Well, we talked a lot about why this university, but why Czechia specifically? One of the main reasons for me was that it is located in the heart of Europe. What this means is that you can travel super affordable and super easily to the countries like Poland, Austria, Hungary, Germany. You can just take a train or a bus, and it is, like I mentioned, very, very affordable. And also, Brno is close to two airports. One of them is the airport, Prague Airport, and the other one is Vienna Airport, which you can find again very affordable flights, and going to these airports are super easy. And also, Czechia is a member of the European Union, so you get all of the advantages from being in a European Union country, which, for instance, gives you, you will have the right to be able to just travel to European Union countries without worrying about a visa after you get your visa for Czechia, of course. And it is a really safe country, which, as I mentioned before, was one of the reasons why I chose Econ Muni, because Czechia is really, really safe. It is almost every time ranked in the first five in the most safe countries in the whole world. And also, we do have a really, really good public transport system, specifically in Brno, which is again where the university is located. Basically, with the public transport, you can go anywhere super quick, and it is again really, really affordable. And just overall, it is super easy. And no matter where you are, which dorm, for instance, you're staying, or where you are in Brno, you can go home at any hour of the day or any time, and it is really good. And also, Czechia is very, very affordable compared to Western Europe, because we do not use the euros, we do use the Czech kronas, which is a good extra thing. And a little bit more about where the university is exactly located, which is Brno. In Brno, it is a really compact city, which means everything is super, super close to each other, even though there is so much to explore and find out. When you want to maybe go somewhere, it's not going to take you so long, but I can promise you, I've been here for 2 years and I still couldn't finish traveling around Brno, because there is a lot of things to do. There is a beautiful hiking places, there is beautiful museums and some touristic attractions. One thing that really interested me, for instance, Brno has the second biggest catacombs in Europe after France, which is in the world actually, which is really cool. We also have other things like underground vegetable markets or underground water tanks, or even some mummy museum. There's a bunch of things that are super, super interesting, and you can never finish Brno, in my opinion. And as I mentioned before, there is really, really good public transport. Again, you can basically go anywhere you want at any hour of the day, and it is especially safe. I know I mentioned that Czechia was safe, but when you consider that Brno is also a small student city, it becomes even more safer. So you do not have to worry about basically anything. And also there is a bunch of parks, cafes, and other things, because it is a student city, which I think it's being a student city is good for so many reasons. But one thing that I really like in Brno is that you don't really need to know Czech at all, because a bunch of people here are students. Like, for instance, if you go to a cafe, people who works there are usually students, or when you just get out and walk around and maybe meet new people, they will be mostly students, because there's a lot of students. So the prices are student friendly, the language is okay. If you know English, you will be fine, and just the student energy is really, really nice when you just get out and just see people, and you can just do a bunch of things. And thank you. This was all from me, and we will get the questions at the end.
I will talk a little bit, but very briefly, about like the student services that we provide, because I think they mentioned like half of what is on my list. But there are some things that I would like to point out as well, because we get these questions a lot. One of the things I would like to mention, because it's, as they said, it might feel a little scary coming to a completely foreign country whose language you do not speak. Every semester starts, or pre-semester, with the international students. I think that's it's like a whole university event, and I think it's a great opportunity to, like find your way around Brno and meet new people and find friends, because you're not the only one who is completely lost here, like the very first few days. We try to help as much as possible. There's a lot of parties going on during that week as well. So you definitely have a lot of opportunities to find friends. We do have student residences, and the thing is that international students get preference when it comes to reservation. If you need to stay at the dorms, which usually international students do because it's difficult to find a place to stay from wherever you are, we have dorms and we have enough space for international students. They already mentioned the SN Club, very active, a lot of stuff to do, including trips, not just parties. We have a university career center where you can go discuss your CV, talk about like your job opportunities. There's a sports center as well. As a bachelor's degree student, you are actually required to take a PE class, or I think two semesters. We have a faculty of sports, so there's a lot to do in that regard as well. There's also a language center, which you can use in two ways, depending on what languages you speak. You can either learn a new language, and I think some students, especially when they speak Spanish or French, they can also teach there as well. We have psychological counseling for the entire university, and also special needs service. This is for students who have some disability or need extra help with something because of some condition they might have. And the student clubs and organizations, which I think is where I got disconnected. I was saying that there's like 60 of them. And now the important question, and it took me a while to get to it, coming from the Faculty of Economics. What about the money? So our tuition fees are 100,000 Czech crowns, because we do it in Czech crowns, which should be about 4,100 euros per academic year for the Economics and Public Policy program, and 120,000 euro Czech crowns, sorry, which should be about 4,900 euros for the Business Management and Finance program. The living cost, and if they or Enoch want to interfere here, this is the information we usually get from the university, the International Center. I hate this question personally, because everybody's lifestyle is different. So this should be the average, but then of course it depends on how often you eat out, where you stay, if you live in the dorms, or if you rent in a room, if you cook. But yeah, as I said, everybody's lifestyle is different. We, of course, often get asked about scholarships. Unfortunately, we do not have any scholarships right now that would cover the entire tuition fee. There's accommodation scholarship, but it is possible to legally work during your studies, which is not very common. For international students, there is no time limit on how much you work. Of course, your studies should still be your priority, but this is, I think, what most of our students do. It is possible to find a job in the field that you're studying, so it also gives you an opportunity to put something on your CV. And before I move to the next slide, I will let Zay say what she wanted to say.
Regarding the living cost, I just wanna like do a little quick thing. Like for instance, regarding the residence, like where you're gonna stay, 250 to 300 euros is very like correct. And when it comes to the living cost, as Barbara said, it kind of depends on what you're living life like. But if giving examples, you can get a good meal for around 150 crowns from our cafeteria, for instance, which is just 6 euros. Or you can get drinks for €1 or €2, or you can eat maybe a little bit more fancier meal for around 15 to 20 euros. So overall, the prices are really, really affordable. And depending on, like I said again, what's your preferences, but living here with 250 to 300 euros is very correct, because there is a bunch of opportunities that you can do it more affordable, because there is a thing called ISIC card. I don't know if Barbara is going to mention that, but ISIC card is basically a student card, and with this card you're going to get a bunch of discounts, which is super good. Because from every grocery shop, food, shopping, anything you can imagine, you have a discount, which makes it so easy for a student.
Thank you, Zay. Now I'm going to move to the part that probably interests most of you, and that is on how to get here. So you have to submit your online application. The entire admission process is online. You do not have to travel anywhere for anything. You do not have to send any hard copies of anything to us for the application process either. We have 2 intakes. You can either start your studies in September or in February. If you want to start in September, then the deadline is April 30th, unless you are a EU citizen or you already have a permit to stay in the Czech Republic. Then there is an extended deadline, which is June 15th. If you want to join us in February, then the deadline is always October 31st. There are 2 parts of the entrance exam that you have to meet, and it's the English and study competence or mathematics. I will talk a bit more detail about this later, but basically these are the 2 things you have to have. Plus, of course, you have to finish high school at least. And then if you get accepted, the enrollment consists of paying tuition fees, submitting your diploma, because we need to verify your previous education. And if you are from a country that needs a visa to study in the Czech Republic, then you need to apply for a visa. And if you are from a country that requires a visa to study in the Czech Republic, I cannot stress this enough, do not postpone this process, because it is a lengthy process to go through. So now the English language proficiency certificates, and I think this is like my most overcrowded slide. There are a lot of options. I listed all of them here. Basically, you just have to choose one of them. If you already have TOEFL, and the minimum scores on the slide are like this because TOEFL completely changed their scoring this year. So it's either 87 or 4.5, depending on when you took the test. If you have TOEFL or IELTS, then of course, or the B2 first, C1 advanced, C2 proficiency, these are all 3 Cambridge exams. By all means, submit those. If you don't, I think like your easiest options then are the Duolingo English test. It's all done online. You decide what time you take it. Or there is the SCIO online English test. SCIO is a Czech company that also does these tests. The advantage of this test is I think it's the cheapest one from the ones on the list, but the times and dates when you can take it are a little bit more limited, or definitely more limited than Duolingo. And the other options are if you hold an IB diploma or EB diploma, then you can use those as your English language proficiency certificates as well. There are exceptions, but the exceptions only apply to people who completed their entire studies in English in one of the countries listed in the pink box. We don't care where you're from, really. It depends on where you studied before. And now my second most overcrowded slide is the academic competence part. So you have two options, really. One of them is submitting one of the recognized qualifications, and that includes an IB diploma. Often students ask about predicted grades and whether we can accept you conditionally, and unfortunately we cannot do that. But if you already have your IB diploma, you can use this as a qualification. For all of these, it is important to say that we do require mathematics on all of the tests. If you do not like mathematics, maybe unfortunately this faculty is not for you. So one of them is the IB diploma, then there's GED, and the minimum scores. All of this information is on our website, of course. A-levels must include mathematics. Some of these tests include mathematics automatically and some don't. So always, watch out for that. SATs with a minimum score of 1050. AP, EB is the European Baccalaureate diploma, and the ACTs, and then Czech or Slovak Maturita. If you do not have any of these, do not worry. Your other option is taking one of the CO tests. There are multiple options. One of them is the GAP, the General Academic Prerequisites test, which you can take if you're Czech or Slovak, in Czech or Slovak as well, but it is offered in English. And then the other option is mathematics. You don't have to take all of these, you just pick one. The CO tests are all done online. And the following test dates for this intake, for the intake for September 2026, are either March 28th or April 25th. You have to register for the tests through CO directly. We can't do that for you. I did not include the deadlines for registrations because I know that there are deadlines, but they tend to move them. So they change. So it's best to just go to their website and look. They move them closer to the test day, not earlier, of course. And now we're moving to the Q&A section. So maybe we can start by looking at the questions that might be submitted here. And then I collected some questions in the registration form as well, so we will go through that. I will read the question just in case somebody can't see them. So the first question here, I was recently admitted to the Business Management and Finance program. I'm very excited to be joined in the faculty. Thank you. I'm particularly interested in pursuing a career in finance, and I have a few questions regarding the academic structure and career preparation within the program. Do graduates from the program often pursue certifications like CFA or ACCA, and does the curriculum align with CFA and ACCA content? Okay, there are more questions, so I will start with this one. So the program is ACCA and CFA accredited, so the options are definitely there, and a lot of graduates do take this opportunity. We just renewed the accreditation, I think last year in December in 2025. So yes, they do often pursue these certifications. We also work with a lot of the big companies that require this as well. How rigorous are the finance courses compared to the management courses? I don't know if I understand this question fully. Maybe you can later expand on that. But so you have like the basics of the programs are very similar for both business management and finance and economics and public policy, because most of our students come here from high school, so they need to build their economics foundation. And then you specialize. Either if you're an economics and public policy student, then you have courses related to that. And in the business management and finance program, there are two tracks, business management and finance. I think it depends a lot on you, and it is quite possible that you can take all of the courses as well. because there is no limit on how many credits per semester you take. So this is entirely up to you. You can look, I did include the structure of the programs, the courses at the very end, and those who are watching this on their phones will not be happy about those slides, but you can have a look at that as well. You don't have to decide immediately like which track you would like to pursue, whether it's business management or finance. You can, like look around, talk to the teachers, have a look at the courses, and then make your decision. Do we get opportunities to work with real company data or partner firms during our studies? I'm going to say yes, and I'm going to say maybe Zay has more experience with this if you want to add something.
Regarding this, it is definitely yes. Like I mentioned before, I also work for a partner company, but also I do work as a customer support, but I have so many colleagues who works at companies like FNZ or some other companies that are just finance related, and it is very, very common, like very common. Almost all of the students have some work experience here because, well, it's good to fill your CV.
And I think Enoch wanted to add something.
Yes, I wanted to add something. We actually do work with company data because I remember we had a course, if they can remember, financial accounting. And our professor was an expert in financial accounting, and she gave us actual data in the Czech Republic relating to Czech laws, relating to company policies. Some policies may not be to the public, but she gave us some intel to the extent to how to be able to calculate the company's finances. And I came to the realization that most companies' finances are actually made to the public to view. And this is actual real data. So I would say yes to that too.
Thank you. So one of the questions was about the visa and application process. We do review applications regularly. So the earlier you apply, as long as you have all of the required documents, the earlier you know the result. I definitely recommend doing that. I know that it's in people's nature to wait until the deadline. Everybody does it. But if there is, if you can do it earlier, apply earlier so that you can start the visa process early. I keep telling students that they should start like right now. They don't take me seriously, and then and then they're surprised. Because you need to be admitted to receive some of the visa documents from us. Some embassies, and that differs embassy by embassy, but some embassies will not even make you schedule an appointment with you without the visa documents from the university. And related to that, because there are often visa-related questions that are very specific, like exactly what bank statements you need and things like that. We try to help with everything as much as we can, but to be completely honest, we are not qualified to answer these questions. The best source of information on visa-related questions are this website that is on the slide, and it's actually very useful. It did not exist a few years ago, and it was way more complicated. It's very easy to click through and figure out what you need. And the second best source is the embassy where you would be applying for visas, because there are rules that, every embassy has to follow, but sometimes certain embassies have like extra additional documents that they require. It's unfortunately impossible for us as admission coordinators to keep track of all of the requirements of every single embassy, because we do really have students from all over the world. So as much as we can try to help, the best help I can give you when it comes to the visa process is this website. I tell new students or new admitted applicants that that's like their new best friend. And all of the information is there. What does a foreign applicant receive? When does a foreign applicant receive visa documents? As I said, we review the applications regularly. So if you submit everything, usually within 2 or 3 weeks, you know the result, and then we send the documents as fast as we can. It's not like an immediate process because there are signatures required from the dean, etc. But we try to speed up this process as much as we can. I have not finished high school yet. That's also a common question. It's okay. Just submit a confirmation from your high school that you are still a student with your expected graduation date and submit that in your application. You will send us your high school diploma the moment you have it, because you will need it for the process of verification of previous education. Can I get conditional admission? Unfortunately not, because we do not really know what we are reviewing. Like, we need to have, the requirements submitted so that we can review them. When does school start? So there are 2 options. You can either start in September, and generally the beginning of the semester is about mid-September. Like the 3rd week usually. In February, it's the same. If you start in February, you start around mid-February or 3rd week of February. What do international students appreciate most about the university is the time when I breathe in and I ask Zay or Enoch to speak.
So one of the things I really appreciate about the university, as I said, is the environment and the access to certain amount of information. And also one of the unique things I found in our university doing recently was the fact that some of our elective programs, we can even pick it from other faculties. So recently I wanted to learn a lot of things about AI, and I added a lot of courses, elective courses, which were open to all faculties from the Faculty of Informatics. So these are all information that when you get from other places can help increase your career path.
I think what I appreciate the most about the university is how easy it is to be a student here. Like, you can reach out to your professors, you can grab a food right outside of the university, you can go anywhere. It is just easy to be a student, to be honest.
Thank you both. I think that's a great response. Application requirements for non-EU students are the exact same as for EU students. So whatever I said before applies to everybody, regardless of where you come from. And the course structure. I am not going to go through this in detail, but as I said, I included 2 absolutely horrible slides in this. This is the course structure of the Economics and Public Policy program. And if you're watching this on your phone, you have absolutely no idea what is in there. But I will share this video, and I will share the links to this information as well. The same is true, or maybe even worse, for the business management and finance program. But the course structure is there are some compulsory courses, and then there are some courses from a list of, I think it's called selective compulsory. Like, you have to choose some from your field. But as our students say, I think like not one of the best things, but one of the huge advantages of studying at Masaryk University is really that you can take courses from like a different faculty, a completely different field, dependent on your interests, for no extra charge. So one of them was about the verification process, and that's something students get confused about. This is not something to worry about during the application process. That's something you need for enrollment. You receive all of the information from us. Like, we walk you through the entire process, but basically we just need to verify that your previous education allows you to study a bachelor's degree program in your country, and therefore, we can accept it here as well. I think we answered the scholarships question as well. How flexible is the choice between the finance and management tracks? Can students switch tracks later based on interest? I think we covered this a little bit. I think we're pretty flexible as a university generally, including like your schedule. And this is something you can definitely go through. What is the balance between classroom theory and real-world business application or any application? I think both Zay and Enoch answered this as well, that there is real-world data and real-world projects, clubs, competitions, and networking events tied to the faculty. There are more university-wide student clubs than faculty, but there are some. There is always the issue of like the language, because, for example, we have, I think it's called the Investors Club, and they are mostly in Czech, but I do believe that if somebody reached out to them, they would be willing to work with English-speaking students as well. I know there are two of our students who started a new club, so those options are here as well. Like if there's an interest that you actually want to invest your time in, we will try to help you with that. And somebody asked about free mover exchange, which is a similar question to Mossad. You can reach out to the email address here, and my colleague will help you with that. Hello, my name is Tolu. As an IB student who is graduating this year, I wanted to clarify if when I take the GAP test, I wouldn't need to take the mathematics or vice versa. Yes, that is correct. You choose one of them, choose the one that fits you better. STIO has sample tests on their website, so you can always look at them before. But yes, exactly. You take one or the other. You don't have to take both. Furthermore, if admission solely based on the minimum grade of 28 points, or it requires more subjects than mathematics alone. So for the IB certificate, if you already have it, you have to have a minimum score of 28, but for mathematics, it has to be 4 and higher. So basically, these are the requirements, plus the English language. And Zay, you said there are more questions. Am I missing something?
There is one more regarding the career paths, and the international students continue careers in Czech Republic.
Yeah, so you say for this program, I don't know if it's the business management and finance or economics and public policy, but I think the general answer, and for as well as for our master's degree programs, usually yes. I know of many students who are international, who do not speak Czech, who found a job before they graduated and then they continued with the job. If they continue their careers in the Czech Republic, oftentimes, yes. We just did a little survey of all of our graduates from the past 15 years and found out that actually more than half of them is still in the Czech Republic. Some of them went back to their country, some of them moved somewhere else, but a lot of them actually stay either here in Brno or they go to Prague, but a lot of them stay. It's not only that it's legal to work as an international student in the Czech Republic, but it's also paperwork-wise easier to find a job as a graduate of a Czech university. If you have a job, you don't have to jump through all of the loops that an international job applicant would have to go through. And I think that might be one of the reasons why many of our students, once they are our alumni, stay here and work.
I think Musa passes hand up.
Yes.
Hello, I just want to ask about the schedule of the courses. Like, do we get to choose the time or it's a programmed time?
So I think I can answer that as a student here. Well, how the courses work is basically you can choose the courses however you want. Like, for instance, with me, I finished all of my courses a year earlier because I took like bunch of courses early. So you can basically like make your own program starting from like the second semester, but the first semester for us, like for you to make it easier for you, the university kind of enrolls you to some of the classes, though you can change these. The only thing that's good to remember is that we have compulsory classes, which you have to take in order to graduate. And we have I think Barbara had a slide about that. You will be able to see it in more detailed in the page as well. But if you're taking these selective and compulsory courses, you can take them whenever you want. And you can find that one course suits your time better than the other course, so you can change it. Just the only thing that's really, really good to remember that you have to take some of the compulsory and selective courses in order to graduate.
And there are like prerequisites. Like you have to take a course after another. Or you can
In
say-
some courses, yes, but like for instance, if you're gonna take statistics 2, you have to take statistics 1.
Yes, I
You know,
see. Yes,
but
I
other
see.
than that, like there is not much going on. Like there is only the continuing of the course. So there is some like stuff like that, but mostly no. Mostly you can take everything
Okay.
earlier. Like I said, I'm finishing my courses a year early.
There is the Contact Us section. If you have questions about student life, email the ambassador email. If you have questions about the admission process, anything official, use the admission email. The ambassadors are here to help, but they're here to help more with like the, what it's like to be a student. Their job is not to explain admission requirements. That's my job. I'm going to reiterate what Zay said, because this happens a lot. Like, we want to help. We're very friendly. Once you come here, you'll make new friends. But I want our ambassadors to feel safe. And that's why we have the email address. We have an Instagram account where you can reach us as well. Our ambassadors are answering questions there as well, but use the faculty Instagram account. These are the email addresses and the Instagram account you can use. The QR code would take you to our website. All of the information about the application process is, of course, there. If you start the application, then the different sections are explained in detail there as well. Unless there are any more questions, or Enoch or Zay want to add something, I think we covered everything. I
Yes.
feel it was very thorough. I tried to include all of the questions that were submitted in the registration form. So thank you all for coming. Thank you, Zay and Enoch, for joining me. And if you have any questions, you all have my email address, because you have received the registration link from me. So you can always email me and ask me whatever was missing. We will share this with you, and I hope to see you here in Brno in September or February. Thank you very much. Have a nice day.
Bye.
Bye.